What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today we're going to show you step by step how to set up the brackets on your UT525B. So before we get started, let's talk about everything that comes included. So you've got the speakers themselves, 4 bolts, washers and nuts, rubber pads and sizing strips to secure the fit of your speakers on your bar, and then we've got the mounting brackets for the speakers that come in 2 different sizes. So we've got the smaller ones here and the bigger ones here. Now depending on which brackets you use really depends on the size of your bar. So if you have a smaller bar that's 1.5 to 1.7 inches, you would use these smaller brackets. And if you had a 1.8 to 2 inch size bar, you would use the larger bracket here. And in case the brackets aren't a perfect fit to the bar, we also have the sizing strips here to help fill out the space between the bracket and the bar. For today, we're using the smaller brackets here, and we are going to need the sizing strips to help fill out the space between the bracket and the bar. But for your setup, you may need to experiment and see which bracket fits to your bar best and whether you need to use the sizing strips or not. You're also going to need a 3/16 Allen key to complete your installation. Now the cool thing about these speakers is that they can swivel 360 degrees, so you can have your speaker pointing in different directions depending on the setup that you want. In order to rotate the speakers to adjust the position, you're actually going to want to remove these bolts here. So I'm going to take the Allen key here and just fully remove one bolt at a time. So we got one down right here. Then we remove the other one. Let's do the same exact thing here on the second speaker. Now in order to rotate your swivel mount, you're just going to take your Allen key again and loosen this bolt here in the middle. So after that, you'll be able to rotate the swivel mount like so. And this is actually a really important step because once we have it mounted onto our bar, we won't be able to adjust this swivel mount any further. So the swivel mount will only be able to be locked in certain positions, which you can tell by looking at the top of the speaker here, where the holes of the swivel mount line up to the holes in the enclosure of your speaker. Once you have it lined up in the way you want, you're going to take the bolts and screw them back onto the swivel mount. So again, you can take your Allen key and just screw the bolts back into the bracket. So once we've set the position of the speakers, we can move on to the next step, which is adding the rubber pads to the top of the swivel mounts here. This will help keep your speakers from slipping around on the bar on top of your mounting brackets. So to add the rubber pads, we're gonna go to the back where you see the adhesive sticker. We're just gonna take that right off. And then we're just gonna line it up to the top of the swivel mount and then really press down to lock it in. Gonna do the exact same thing on the second speaker here. So before we mount the speakers, let's set up the mounting brackets onto the bar. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna use these rubber strips here to fill out the space between the bracket and the bar. So just for reference, I've got one of the thinner ones here and one of the thicker ones here. So you're just gonna insert the strip into the bracket just like this. And because I'm doubling up, I'm just gonna do the same exact thing with my smaller strip here. And again, this is just because of the setup I have right here. So if you need one of these strips for your setup, feel free to experiment with that. So now we can take our bracket and fit it onto our bar, and it may help to even stretch the bracket out a little bit. But don't worry, because once we have it installed onto our speaker, it's gonna tighten back up so there's no space. Now before we attach the rest of the brackets, I want to point out these holes here on each bracket. So we've got this hole here where the bolt will enter, and then we've got this hole here that fits the nut. So I'm just mentioning this here because you want to make sure that when you're placing the brackets on your bar that they're all facing the same direction in uniform. So I'm just going to keep going here by placing the rubber strips inside of each bracket and placing my brackets over the bar. So now that we've got our brackets attached to the bar, we can then take our speaker and we're gonna line up the holes of the swivel mount here to the holes on our brackets just like this. Now it might also help to slide the bracket onto the mount just like this. So once it's all lined up, you're gonna take your bolt and you're also gonna run a washer through the bolt and feed it through the holes of the bracket and the swivel mount like this. And we're gonna do the same exact thing with the second bolt here. Next, you're gonna take 2 nuts and fit them in the grooves on the back of the brackets that we showed you earlier. And then once you're done, you're gonna tighten everything with the Allen key. Then we're gonna follow the same exact steps with the second speaker. So hopefully this showed you the step-by-step on how to install your UT525Bs. We also got plenty of other videos you can check out on how to finish the install for these speakers. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.